Greetings, everyone. It is a joy to welcome you to kick off the Latinx Heritage Month together. Our theme is Unidos, inclusivity for a stronger community. And we're coming together to celebrate your contributions. Some of you may remember when the poet Luis Rodriguez spoke at the recent LA Times Festival of Books. About this Heritage Month, he says, "For me, this is more than a celebration. It's also about getting organized for everyone's place as dignified human beings." Luis, as you know, is a former Los Angeles Poet Laureate. And now we have Ada Limon as our new National Poet Laureate, the first female of Latino and Mexican heritage to achieve this. She grew up in Northern California and now lives in Kentucky. When it comes to getting organized for others, as Luis Rodriguez puts it, our students are leading the way. And I'm thinking of students like Irene Franco Rubio, a first-gen sociology student. Irene's mother is from Mexico City and her father is from Guatemala. Before coming to USC, she interned on Capitol Hill and was an organizer for When We All Vote, which was Michelle Obama's nonprofit. She's part of Dornsife's Civil Rights Advocacy Clinic's inaugural cohort established in 2020. The clinic is called Agents of Change, and it's the first clinic of its kind in the nation. In May, she was named a John Robert Lewis Scholar, and that is a program for emerging leaders, and it is a distinction given to only 10 undergraduates across the country. Students like Irene lift us up with their actions, and our faculty keep lifting us up too. I'm thinking of faculty like Annenberg professor Amara Aguilar. This past spring, she taught a course about oral history. In the course, students created digital media content for a multimedia museum exhibition downtown. And it featured recipes and stories and artifacts from 10 Mexican and Mexican-American grandmothers in Los Angeles. For the project, Professor Aguilar interviewed her 93-year-old grandmother, Rachel. Together, they made Rachel's signature enchiladas with the help of the professor's father and daughter. 4 generations working together. That takes me back to making my own Albanian grandmother's recipes and preparing them alongside my daughter and my granddaughter. And I had a chance to share one of our recipes on Instagram last year on Valentine's Day. Learning from the generations before us, the ones that are beside us, and those following us is what helps us all build a better future for everyone. And talk about pioneers that make this happen. I'd like to tell you about USC's very own first Latino trustee, the late Dr. Edward Sapanta. When he entered what is now the Keck School of Medicine, Dr. Sapanta was the only Latino in his class. And when his family struggled to pay his medical school bills, a local Latino doctor gave him a scholarship and encouraged him to pay it forward. Dr. Sapanta graduated in 1963. He went on to serve in the Air Force and to become a neurosurgeon and a clinical professor at Keck. His brother, Dr. Richard Sapanta, followed in his footsteps, graduating from Keck in 1968 and becoming an orthopedic surgeon. In 1973, almost 50 years ago, the two brothers co-founded the USC Mexican American Alumni Association, which is now the USC Latino Alumni Association. Today, 2 scholarships are named after Dr. Edward Sapanta. Both support Hispanic students at Keck. And the Latino Alumni Association has given more than 9,400 scholarships, totaling $22.5 million across the university. Our university has grown and evolved over those first lonely years for Dr. Sapanta. So far this year, 18% of our new incoming undergraduates, including our transfer students, and 14% of our incoming graduate students identify as Hispanic. Our community is so large that we plan to nearly double La Casa's space in the Tudor Center. Diversity makes our USC community so much stronger. And we see that power when we welcome brilliant thinkers like the poet Luis Rodriguez to our campuses. As a close, I want to return to his words. He reminds us there are 4 key connections we need as human beings. Connections to our own genius, connections to nature, to the divine, and to each other. Connections to our own genius, to nature, the divine, and to each other. As we look forward throughout this entire month, let's continue to celebrate, to accelerate change, and to fight on with each other. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Pedro Antonio Noguera. I am the Dean at the Rossius School of Education, and this is Latinx History Month. I have to say, to start, that I'm still getting used to the whole term Latinx. And I still have an issue with it because until my mother understands what that means and people like her, I think we have a problem. But I can talk more about that another time. Latinos, as many of us know, are a diverse, multi-racial, multi-ethnic group of people. It's part of the reason why many of us are not clear on who's in and who's not. Are Brazilians in? They're in Latin America, but they speak Portuguese. What about the Guyanese or the Surinamese who speak English and Dutch? My family's from Venezuela. In Venezuela alone, we have black people, Chinese people, we have Jewish people, German people. They're all Venezuelans, right? So ethnic heritage doesn't always tell us who a Latino is. The theme of this month is unity, unido. But unity takes work because it's more than the identity that will bring us together. We have common needs, common challenges that we face, especially in this country at this time. And so my hope is that Latino or Latinx History Month will serve as a time for conversations and dialogue about those issues, because unity can't be imposed. It's something we have to work toward. I hope you'll enjoy the speakers and the events that have been organized. It's so important that here at USC, we have a strong Latinx presence. We are in a Latino community, both here in South LA and on the East Side. So this university needs to understand it has a commitment to the Latino population. And so I'm so glad to be part of it. I'm so sad I'm one of the few senior administrators at USC of Latinx heritage. Hopefully we'll do something about that too. Thank you, and fight on.
Hello, Trojan family. Buenas. My name is Alberto Ortega. I am Latino, and I am a soon-to-be 4-time Trojan. I am very proud to say that my Latinx heritage has deeply enriched my cultural and professional identities. I'm the first in my family to be born in the U.S., and I grew up in a primarily Latinx immigrant community here in Northeast Los Angeles. I attended USC for undergrad, where I initially majored in Spanish because I wanted to return to my home community and serve as a Spanish teacher. However, due to various lived experiences, I developed an interest in the healthcare space, so I chose to pursue an additional bachelor's degree in health promotion and disease prevention studies. After college, I spent 2 years serving the community around USC by working as a health educator, clinical researcher, and emergency medical technician. I loved interacting with patients and being a part of the care team, so I began thinking a career in healthcare would be the right fit for me. I then spent 4 years exploring the hospital setting by working as a Spanish interpreter at Children's Hospital Los Angeles, which is a USC affiliate. Bridging language gaps for patients and their families and working closely with healthcare workers inspired me to go to medical school and become a physician for Spanish-speaking patients. I was fortunate to be admitted into the Keck School of Medicine of USC, which was obviously my dream school in my home community. My calling to improve healthcare for medically underserved Latinx communities led me to actually take a pause from medical school to pursue my 4th degree at USC, an MBA at the USC Marshall School of Business. Clearly, my journey has been very long, but also very rewarding. There is no doubt that being a part of the Trojan family changed my life. From all the role models, sponsors, and mentors who opened doors for me and believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself, to the world-class education, to the commitment to serving vulnerable populations. It's an immense honor and privilege to represent USC as a Latino, as a leader, and as a Trojan for life. Siga luchando. Fight on.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria Polanco. I'm a first-generation college student majoring in real estate development and minoring in business. I migrated to the United States from El Salvador when I was about 3 years of age, and I was raised by a single mother who just doesn't quit and got my brother and I through everything poverty threw at us, including homelessness. So being a Salvadorian Trojan back at home is kind of a big deal, but it's just as hard. Many people think being a Trojan just represents the attendance at a very prestigious school, but don't realize the work, the grit, and the resilience it takes just to earn such a label. Because being a Trojan is being surrounded by greatness and knowing what to do when you run into your own. And it's also just recognizing how high the bar is set and always aiming to reach above that bar. And we Trojans also like to do it in style. Meeting those expectations as a Latinx student also bears many other unique challenges. Many of us come to USC with little resources of our own and compare ourselves to our wealthier counterparts. And sometimes we even convince ourselves that we don't belong here. But what I discovered was that the entire time we've been worried about the wrong kind of rich. I thought that if I had more money, then I'd truly be part of USC, but that couldn't have been further from the truth because the real richness comes from within. As a freshman, the Latinx community was so hard to come across. For weeks, I looked for a community that I just something that I could fit into and be a part of. And it wasn't until I realized that it's not about how I fit into a community, but more about how I let other people fit in around me. So in other words, I needed to be the person I was looking for in order to create the community that I wanted to be a part of. So that's my big message for you today. If you can't find what you're looking for out in the world, then become that person, become that community, and just become the change you want to see in the world, because the stronger and more open we are to including others on an individual level, the stronger the foundations to our communities. And that is what being a first-generation Latinx Trojan is all about. So with that said, continue to fight on during Latinx Heritage Month and just celebrating inclusivity for all. Thank you.
Hola, Casa students. I'm so excited to be here with you today. You know why? Football is back, baby. We're in the national picture. And guess what? Diversity and inclusion is so celebrated. And you know what? That's you. They're celebrating your diversity. They're celebrating your heritage. I want you to be proud. I want you to know that those privileged students that sit next to you, they can't hang with you. You have such an advantage over them and everyone else, even when you go out into the world. However, you have a big responsibility. I want you to be a champion bigger than yourselves. And I want you to give back. And finally, you know what? Sí se puede.
Hola, mi gente. My name is Xiomara Mateo Gaxiola, and I'm a proud graduate of Razier School of Education's doctoral program in educational leadership. Currently, I have the honor of serving the university as Razier's Director of Community Engagement. Como Boricua de Puerto Rico, I've experienced my Latinx identity as ni de aquí ni de allá. But over time, I've grown to embrace the awesome aspects of both cultures in my own unique ways. I look forward to meeting many of you at our events throughout this month and to celebrating the inclusivity of our diverse Latinx heritage. Fight on.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Alheider, and I'm a doctoral student in the Rossier School of Education, pursuing a degree in educational leadership with a concentration in higher education. As a first-generation college student, the thought of being a Trojan felt unattainable growing up. Now that I'm part of the Trojan family, I could not have imagined how much being part of USC has inspired, empowered, and impacted my life. I am orgullosa to have mentors from the Trojan Familia who have paved the way for me to pursue my doctoral degree here at USC. Being a Trojan has given me the opportunity to be a Toppings Fellow, which has been a rewarding and humbling experience. As a third-generation Chicana, I am proud of being Mexican. Sharing my cultura with others and representing my community in higher education has kept me grounded, self-aware, and motivated to continue to being a change agent. I am humbled and honored to be able to share a little bit about myself as we celebrate Latinx Heritage Month. Unidos, inclusivity of a stronger community. The Latinx community is filled with powerful historias, rituals, food, música, bailes, spirituality, and traditions. Embracing our cultura, regardless of our differences, only makes our community more resilient. As individuals, we are strong, but as a community, we are powerful. Si se puede, fight on.
So, Coach, with a background in the Latino community, kind of talk to us about your experience growing up in Los Angeles.
Well, grew up in Cerritos. Mother is Mexican American. Father's Polish Italian. So, kind of grew up in a very diverse upbringing, which I think was great, but probably identified more in the Mexican American culture of anything else. And so it was a great upbringing. I mean, I think one of the great things about growing up in Los Angeles, it's just a melting pot of diversity, different religious backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different cultures, all of it. I think it lends to growing up and having a wide lens and seeing life for what it is. Different folks, right? Different environments, living the best life that they possibly can and doing it the best way they possibly can. And so I think that's what growing up in Los Angeles is the great influence it had on my life.
And then talk to us a little bit more about just the culture in those communities. I mean, obviously the first thing that comes to my mind, this is a taco town, right? The food, the culture, the people, how they all kind of like, celebrate their heritage with, with foods and things
Sure.
like that.
Sure, I think obviously growing up here in Los Angeles, and like I said, influenced mostly by the Mexican American culture, and so food and family, as we all know, are a big part of that. And it's always nothing is done small, everything's done big, everything's probably overdone, right? Food for days, right? And just getting together with your family and friends and celebrating. That was just a way that we grew up, and it's a way that we've raised my family to do the same, and I think that's the cool thing about the Mexican American culture. It's about family. It's about taking care of one another, being there for one another, and celebrating life well together. And so, great influence in my life.
That was great. And then lastly, just talk to us about how you benefiting as a head coach. How you can maybe influence your players or just educate your players about kind of that family aspect of what you know and grew up with in your community.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about the game of baseball, you look at all the different Latin American countries that now are so prominent in professional baseball, and so getting a chance to play professionally and then being a part of this university now at USC and being able to, we got a young man from Puerto Rico, right, Adrian, and so we got players that we're recruiting that from all over the place, and just seeing those cultures and those different places where guys grew up and what they've been a part of. And I think that's one of the cool things too is understanding that baseball has been impacted by the Latin American countries as well as any sport that we know, and so and understanding that, culture and trying to recruit in those areas as we keep moving forward, and we will continue to do that. But the baseball community here is prominent in from a Latin American community here in Los Angeles as well. And so I'm excited about being able to bring these young men and their families to our campus and seeing the great opportunities that USC can provide for them, not just on the baseball field, but obviously academically, and being able to graduate and get a degree from the University of Southern California. That's a big deal. That would be a great accomplishment for all of our young men, but certainly those in the Latin American community.
Hi everyone, we're La Casa staff. I'm Sam.
I'm Dan.
I'm Melanie.
I'm Alyssa.
I'm Julissa.
And we're going to talk about what it means to be Latinx to us.
To me, Latinx means community.
My favorite part about being Latinx is the food from every single country.
My favorite thing about being Latinx is La Familia.
My favorite thing about being Latinx is the vibrant culture and diversity.
My favorite thing about being Latinx is the music.
Right on.
Right on.
Hello, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us celebrate the Latinx Heritage Month kickoff celebration. My name is Leticia Delgado. I serve as Center Supervisor for La Casa. And at this moment, I want to give my sincere thank yous to the folks that help make this all possible. Our campus partners, CREW, Latino Alumni Association, Latino Planning Committee, University Communications, Rossier School of Education, La Casa team, University Relations, Residential Education, the USC and the USC Thornton School of Music. I also want to invite you to the closing event, La Bienvenida. This event will be held on Wednesday, October 12th at Founders Park from 3 to 7. Look forward to seeing you there.